So we're reading book 4, Sutra 4. A yogi's ego sense alone is the cause of other artificially created minds. Carrera's translation says, individualized conscience proceeds from the primary ego sense. His translation, understanding this sutra is easier if we review the Sanskrit first. Nirmama, Chaitani, Asmita, Mantrat. Nirmama, from ma, to measure, to allocate, apportion, make, create. Chaitani, multiple individual consciousness, mind stuff. Asmita, ego sense. Matrat, alone, primary, from only. These are two schools of thought regarding the meaning of this and the two sutras that follow. The first school examines these sutras in the context of evolution. The second school regards these sutras as an extension of the discussion of the siddhis. From an evolutionary point of view, these three sutras are understood as describing the origin of individual consciousness and its relation to the unconditioned consciousness that is Purusha. So in this context, Nirmama Chaitani is regarded as the individualized mind stuffs that evolved from Asmita Mantrat, the primordial, I know I'm not pronouncing this word right.
No, it is primordial.
Oh, primordial?
Yeah.
Ego, Mahat in Sankhya philosophy. Asmita Mantrat is unparticularized I amness, which makes the phenomenon of all individuality possible. The second school of thought is influenced by the sage Vyasa's commentary. His interpretation, based on the understanding that these sutras are an extension of the discussion of the siddhis, relies on different shades of meaning for the same words. Nirmama Chaitani is interpreted as artificially created mind stuffs, and Asmita Mantrat refers to the yogi's own ego as the source of those manufactured minds. These sutras are therefore seen to be discussing the ability of yogis to consciously create other minds for the purpose of accelerating the purging of their past karmas or for increasing their ability to serve others. I need to get, oh, here's my water. Maybe I read the next two since he said they tie together.
Yeah.
I did like this last sentence though. These sutras are therefore seen to be discussing the ability of yogis to consciously create other minds for the purpose of accelerating the purging of their past karmas or for increasing their ability to serve others. So that is sticking out to me.
That's the part that I kind of understood. The rest of it, the ability to create other minds is the part that I'm confused about.
Yeah. Well, let's see if he says something in the last.
Right.
Sutra 5 from Patanjali. Although the functions in the many created minds may differ, the original mind stuff of the yogi is the director of them all. From Carrera's translation. Chitta Akam, translated as original mind stuff, is another way of referring to the principle of Asmita Mantrat. Asmita Mantrat creates the appearance of many individual consciousness with separate lives and activities. In truth, there is only one all-pervading awareness behind all egos. The pure, undivided consciousness of the Purusha pervades all of Prakriti's manifestations.
Okay.
4:6 from Patanjali. Only the minds born of meditation are free from karmic impressions. from Carrera. Of these, the different activities in the individual minds, what is born from meditation is without residue. The residue referred to in this sutra is some conscious impressions, some skaras, which spur the mind to relentless activity. Vritti activity leaves an accumulation of impressions, memories, that dwell in the subconscious mind. Since selfish desires lurk behind most vritti activity, the resulting subconscious accumulations are a source of future pain. They nudge the mind toward a never-ending search for new diversions. The samskaras left by most mental activity are a lack of karmic seeds waiting to sprout. Are like a sack. The samskaras left by most mental activity are like a sack of karmic seeds waiting to sprout. Thoughts that arise out of meditation are different. The impressions left by meditation encourage deeper excursions into equanimity and stillness. The whirling of the vrittis ceases as the mind settles on one object. The samskaras left by meditation are unified in purpose. They lead to the transcendence of ignorance. In meditation, the landscape of the mind is not marred by longings, but marked by an organic movement toward self-realization. These samskaras leave no accumulation. They are without residue. We now come to the last in this series of sutras on evolution. This time, the emphasis is on karma, cause and effect, and its relationship with desires, some conscious impressions, and evolution of the individual character traits.
That was interesting. In his second paragraph, he says, vritti activity leaves an accumulation of impressions or memories, which I've understood already, that dwell in the subconscious mind. And then he says, since selfish desires lurk behind most vritti activity, the resulting subconscious, and I just lost my, the resulting subconscious accumulations are a source of future pain. I didn't really think about vritti being the result of selfish, not vritti, like, so that vritti being the mind stuff, you know, the stuff that's always got the activity, right? That's what I understood vritti to be. Selfish desires lurk behind most vritti activity. That's something I had never considered before. You know, if you think about when you're trying, you know, sitting to concentrate, and that's when you start to notice the vritti, you start to notice everything that's running through your mind that you might not notice in regular day-to-day activities. There's a selfish motive desire behind most of those thoughts. I'm kind of, I don't know whether I'm offended by that or surprised. I'm definitely surprised, but it's not something I had. I can see the difference when they're saying the thoughts, the vritti that comes from meditation. The impressions that are left from meditation I don't have residue, don't have the same, like, it's not the same. Those are not the same kind of thoughts. They're calmer, they're more it's more settled. You're transcending ignorance, like all those kind of words. I don't know if I've experienced it, but I can accept that, I can see it, but I'm not sure that. Maybe it's just like, I don't think all those thoughts that are going in my head are selfish thoughts. Maybe they are.
I don't think they're meaning, I don't think he's meaning selfish the way we think selfish, possibly, but I think like
bound from the ego, like come from the ego.
I think it's more like ego, like they're selfish in the sense that you're biased, like you've created, like something could happen to you and something can happen to me, but it's selfish in the way you create the samskara, and it's selfish the way I create the samskara, maybe. just based on like the tools we had in learning it.
Right. Maybe. I'll have to think about that.
But at the beginning, vritti is labeled as modifications. So it's like how, I guess, how we're taking all these stories. And if you go back to Sutra 5, where he talks about these mental modifications, and he says painful or painless. And then he says, instead of labeling these as painful and painless, he calls them selfish thoughts and selfless thoughts. And he talks about the selfish thoughts bringing pain.
Okay.
I jumped in secretly, but I was listening to a talk from Eckhart Tolle yesterday, and he was talking about how everything in the ego, everything that we identify with is really just a thought form. It sounds like what you're saying. So, like, maybe he means self as in, like, identity.
Right. That
Like
would make,
selfish and selfless, like with identity and without identity.
gotcha. That makes sense. Makes sense. That was so offensive. Yeah. Okay. So then, Amanda, since you're here, in Sutra 4.3, where it's talking about creating other minds for the purpose of accelerating the purging of past karmas. The explanation of creating other minds didn't really make sense.
Hold on, let me look that up. You said 4.3.
Yeah. No, 4.4. Sorry, my mistake. 4.4.
The emergent mind field springs forth from the individuality of I-ness, asmita. It's like you know that chart for Sankhya?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it starts with consciousness, and then matter gets involved,
Mm-hmm.
and then like as the chart goes down, you have that eventually like individuality and ego are formed. So he's saying the mind springs forth from the extremely fine sense of individuality or asmita. It is I-ness itself that is yet free from addictions, aversions, and fears. Recall that there are 5 colorings or kleshas, and that these emerge sequentially. First it is avidya or ignorance, and then comes I-ness, individuality or asmita. Then after there's an individuality, it starts to take on or wrap itself in all sorts of addictions and aversions. Finally, once all of this false identity has been assumed, there is the fear of the loss of those identities. In such a way, the mind emerges out of the subtler form. The advanced yogi has mastery even over this process of mind emerging out of the root I-ness or asmita. Does that make sense? Like, there's consciousness, and then suddenly consciousness becomes relational when matter gets involved, because now it can look at itself. And if it can look at itself, there's one thing, and then there's maybe another thing. So then the ego creates individuality, like there's Jupiter and then there's Earth. Even though like they're essentially all matter, they have like, an individuation to them. And then from that individuation, like if I'm Amanda, you're Jackie, that means that I have to protect and uphold the Amanda-ness
Yeah.
that has been manifested, even though the matter that is Amanda and the matter that is Jackie is the same thing.
Right.
So it's like an illusion that the mind creates, that there is individuation.
Mm-hmm.
What is this? And then like from that, Amanda-ness has to have likes and dislikes. And once I have the likes and dislikes, and I wrap myself around that, then I have a loss, like a fear of loss. That's the ego. That's probably, I don't know what you guys read when you said you were feeling offended, but like it was funny because yesterday, like sometimes you listen to a talk and you're like, all right, I guess so, fine, that's true. You know, and he was saying like our identity is simply based on these thought forms. Like you like this and don't like that. And it's not necessarily like reality all the time. Like sure, it's your perceptive reality in the material world, and it's your identity in the material world, and that's useful and helps you get around. But like from the esoteric, like higher viewpoint, it's like it's a thing that's causing separation and suffering.
Yeah.
So like to feel offended is the ego.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like not just this, it's like anytime somebody threatens your idea of what your existence means because of your attachment or aversion to thought forms,
yeah,
we get offended and like we attack, and there's this like I am me and your enemy kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I heard it right before this like really intense conversation with my father yesterday, which ended up being really good, but like my whole Dharma talk was based on it. He was saying like, okay, you're in the material world, and once you know this, you're going to realize that like all of this is due to change. And even though the ego wants to hold on to the things that it likes and it wants to like push away the things it doesn't like, there's a higher thing that you can get to if you realize that like all of adversity is linked to the change, and the only time change happens is when there's adversity. Like if you're really comfy, things often don't change as rapidly. So can you use this as an impetus, or it go in two ways. Like you have adversity and change, and the ego can get offended, and then we can slide into unconscious behaviors that cause reactions, right? Like reactiveness that can cause suffering for myself and others. Or on the converse, we can remember. We can use adversity to remember that we're something beyond the ego self.
Mm-hmm.
And then like act with consciousness. And in that like more selfless state, we cause less harm.
For sure.
And I was like, all right.
For sure. But how hard is that?
It was hard, yeah, because they were dunking my kid in the pool, and I was like ready to murder everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And I had spoken to them on multiple occasions. I didn't want that to happen, and my husband and my father like ignored me at a party, you know, so like couldn't react. And I just, I was so mad. I was so mad. So I had to have a long talk with both of them, and like I feel bad because my husband, I didn't listen to Eckhart Tolle before I talked to my husband, and I was like very aggressive. It's like something with the mommy. It's like you become a mommy and suddenly
You become fierce.
Holy, yeah, like oh, you're gonna hurt my kid, like I may murder you in cold blood, you know, like I was like real mad.
Mm-hmm.
And then I listened to Eckhart Tolle, and like the conversation I had with my father was like profoundly different. Because I was like, let go of this like ego-based thing. Like you're ready to like stop your relationship with your father. Who's your father? You need to like be conscious instead. So like it kind of softened me and it like loosened me up, and it actually ended up becoming this like incredible conversation that I think I've wanted to like have with him for 10 years. Wow. Maybe even longer than that. And he's like totally open to like all these communication books I'm going to send him now. And like, this has never been the case. So it was like, if I approached it the other way, there would be no growth.
Mm.
I mean, thank God Mark's been doing so much self-work. He like really stayed calm.
So Amanda, what was, after you got through the maternal rage, and then so your husband is 6 feet under right now, but you had a good conversation with your father because you listened and thought about it. So you had attachment, and then there was this uncomfortable change, and there was adversity, and then you became aware. But I'm not exactly sure what the awareness was, and the change in the conversation.
So it was like I was like, I have to have this conversation with him, and I started projecting into the future, like, this is what he's going to say because he's always said this, and then I'm going to get so mad that I'm never going to speak to him again. And then, like, these are the things he did in the past. He did this, he's going to say this, he's going to say that. Right? I was going on this like whole wild diatribe of like vilifying my poor father, you know. And he wasn't like, he didn't feel like he was doing anything bad. He wasn't trying to actively harm me. He just like missed the cue for, I set a boundary and he stepped over the boundary. Right? I set a very clear boundary that he stepped over, and so did my husband. That's why I got so pissed. And it was like, I could approach that. It was in that other video that like I tagged you in, Pam and Jack Anna. You saw it. It was that.
Oh my God, it was so good.
It's like, what is trust? Right? So like she like broke it down, and I was like, okay, clearly my boundaries were violated here. So how can I have a conversation where like I'm exhibiting being a trustworthy person? That means like I can't jump to the conclusion that you have to like give people the benefit of the doubt in some capacity. So I was like, okay, fine. Give him the benefit of, like, I have to let go of this ego attachment to being right, and like this sort of hierarchy of like moral superiority. Like, just because I don't step over his boundaries, it doesn't make me better than him. It means that maybe I've had more practice and I'm able to communicate in a different way, and I'm able to maybe listen a little bit better, and that doesn't make me better than him, or that my intentions are better. It was like I had to let go of my ego rage, my offendedness. I was so offended, you know? Like if I didn't let go of that offendedness, then I wouldn't have been able to have like a conversation where I wasn't screaming at him. And it was like a very
So you let go of the I'm rightness, and you let go of the projections of all the things that could be, but have in no way happened yet.
right. Like I let
And
go of the ego identity of I am me and he is
right.
him, and I moved into like we are family
Yeah.
unit. This dynamic hurts me for XYZ. Here are proactive things that we can do together to get to the. And he was like super receptive. He's never been that receptive to a conversation before. It was like magic.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's like we have to do all that self-work so we can emit that energy to reflect onto the other person, to also know that they can act that way without telling them to act that way. We have to like trick them into acting that way.
Right.
I feel like that's what I have to do. Like if I'm having a tough conversation with someone, I have to do so much self-work before it, like meditate or calm myself down. Otherwise the energy I'm emitting is going to be picked up. Even if I'm saying it calmly, they can still feel it. Even through Zoom, I feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Even
Yeah.
through Zoom. Yeah.
But I was Googling different like explanations for these sutras, and I just want to read this paragraph from some random website. I'm sure it's fake news, but all meditation must be done in a very relaxed, playful way, because all seriousness relates to and comes along with the past. Leave all seriousness. Keep playful, pleasant, and unburdened by past and future. Then meditation becomes real and easy. Then meditation frees the mind from any of the remaining desires in it easily. And I read this before Amanda just told us the story about her dad. And it's even like I'm not saying we shouldn't be serious in our conversations, but because she was able to pull, maybe, I don't know, I don't want to put words in her mouth, but from what I heard is she was able to pull herself into the present and let go of all her past experiences with her dad. She was able to have a more productive conversation. And I feel like I can be super serious sometimes in my meditation, like trying to fix things instead of just being more like easygoing with it, like it could just tie into everything in life. Like just have more fun, like stop being so serious, because that's pulling this from what he's saying, this person's saying here, it's pulling in, we're serious because we're pulling in something that previously happened to us and putting an expectation on what's to come type of thing.
Yeah, I think that's totally relevant. For sure, I had to like stop being so intensely serious for a moment.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're right. But like, it's a hard thing, right? Because I've been struggling with that, and with the doom scroll. Have you guys been doom scrolling on Facebook of like all the terribleness, how we're slipping into tyranny and all that? And I'm like totally stressed out about it. So then I get super serious, and it's like I can't meditate. I can't like think of anything else. And it's like, I know this rule that you're talking about, Pam, and it's like, it's legitimate, and it's not like stepping out of reality necessarily, but there is sort of an indifference that comes to like the current affairs, which is like so healthy for you internally, but there's something inside of me that's like really needing to participate with all this lunacy. And I don't know if that's like the want of the ego to survive. Like, if I don't know what's going to happen, we won't survive, or something like that.
Well, that's when you were saying that earlier about I'm like, what are like I understand what's being said, but realistically, like we live in New York, we live in like a metro area, like realistically, how does this look? Because I feel like first my mind was like, oh, we should just all go live in a farm somewhere and just create our own yoga cult, but like that's not right either. And that would probably create a whole nother wave of problems. And like we need to keep showing up for people in our life to be the light. And like, but like what you're saying, it's like, but then that's it. If you're not paying attention to current affairs and just having fun all the time, then, or not taking things seriously, then that's not right either.
Right. It's a thing. There's a Buddhist saying, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. I always try to think about that like, okay, I could work, I can have relationships, I'm very triggered by politics. It's like, I think they do that on purpose. Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, but Amanda, it's something that you said it in teacher training, you've said it many times, and it resonates with me, which is why I'm bringing it up. It's what you surround yourself with. So you have to be careful what you ingest, not just food, but you have to be careful what you ingest.
Yeah, you're right.
World around you and what you surround yourself with, because there's no way that you can be equanimous if what you're feeding, what you're ingesting is all negative.
Yeah.
Oh.
You're not wrong.
Well, you said it.
I know. It's
yeah.
I know last night my husband was like, I think you really need to stop looking at Facebook, Amanda. He was like, no more news and social media for a little bit. Maybe you need to cleanse.
I don't think it's necessarily that you have to stop looking at it. I think it's exactly this. You just need to create a more playful, like remove yourself. I'm not saying you need to come out of politics.
No.
But like I could sit here and be like, yeah, there's corruption in whatever field of Wall Street or nonprofit world, wherever. There's always going to be corruption, but there's also always going to be good. And I can't speak to this because I haven't learned it enough, but I feel like once I start stepping my foot in it, I'm going to find the good in politics. And that's what I'm going to find. And that's what I'm going to leverage my energy on. I'm going to shine more light on that instead of more light. I'm not going to share Trump posts on how awful he is. We all agree that already. And I'm not going to flood my feed with that type of negative news. I'm going to flood my feed with the powerful leaders that are actually doing
Good.
like good for humanity. And that's where, once I find myself going down that negative rabbit hole, this is where this paragraph comes into play with me. Like, go find the fun people. And I'm not saying that fun and playful are not hardworking. Like, I'm fun and playful at work, and I can be really silly sometimes, but I can also be very professional and serious. But I'm also like, I know I'm a good person. Not that I don't make mistakes. Good isn't perfect. But I think it's just a matter of sitting and revising what you're following. And I don't think that's ignorance.
No.
I think flooding your feed with all the bad is ignorance, where you're not even focusing your energy on the good. Because it's like you're choosing not to believe that there's good out there. And there must be some politicians that are good. Like, I can't sit here and believe that there's not one out there.
Don't know.
And if there isn't, then what the heck are we doing sitting here? Like, no meditation is going to do anything, because we need to go do more action and get more yogi people into politics.
Yeah, me and Raph were talking real late last night. He was saying the same thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like the work, I've definitely, it's like the universe gives you something more subtle. Like, I got to a place where it's like, I am fine with my own mortality. I was like, I am equanimous. And then I had a kid, and it's like, oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I gotta stick around so I could take care of her, and I have to make sure she's safe. And like, it's this whole new level of like it's this new layer of mortality that I'm dealing with, I think. It's like, okay, if the country devolves into tyranny, that's a big problem for my kid. If we can't get out of the country after that happens, that's a big problem for my kid. It's like, I have to find a new...
See, I don't have children, but I feel that way. And I think that's something we all should start feeling earlier. And there's a song that Whitney Houston sings that is one of my favorite songs, that she talks about the children being our future. And like, from a very young age, when I was in college, I felt that way. And like, it was like constantly like working with the underrepresented, at-risk children and youth.
Mm-hmm.
And whether or not it's your child, it takes a village, these children are all our children, and no one suffer. Until no one suffers, we all suffer, type of thing.
Yeah.
So I hear what you're saying, but I think we should all feel that way about all the youth.
I mean, but if we could take action in that direction while not being so intensely serious that we're stifled, is maybe the even way. It's just, I'm really having trouble getting there.
There has to be a small way that you can make your personal change, and that has to be enough until you can find another way, and then you add that to it, and then you find. But it starts with a small. I find that I keep going back to my teaching job, but teaching is political, and so. And you can't avoid it. And if you do avoid it, you've got your head in the sand. So it is, and you have to speak up, and you have to speak up for the children who can't speak up for themselves. And you've got to find your way to do it, and you got your small ways to do it, and kind of expand from there. And that has to be enough. It never feels like it's enough, ever. It never feels like you're doing enough. But I have to always kind of try to remind myself to reconcile that it's all I can do right now, and it has to be enough. And it's better than not doing anything at all. So there's always little things. There's always little things you can do. And you're doing so much, Amanda.
I'm getting overwhelmed because it's like there's this huge, massive thing, and I feel like, okay, I spend like a week tackling it, dealing with it, getting my mind straight about it, and then this has been such an accelerated time. It's like up pops another really intense, horrible thing, and it's like, okay. And it's like, okay, that's all right, that's settled now. And then like another one pops up. It's like, it's so, this is a really intense time to move through this. I guess everyone's feeling that way, right? Everyone's feeling that way.
Yeah.
Last night I was signed up to watch Dr. Ibram X. Hendry's the author that wrote How to Be Anti-Racist. He gave a talk at, I guess, a library system down in the DC, Maryland area. And I had like long day, just gave blood. Like, I'm trying to do all this good in the world and I can't get on. Like, why can't they just make it easy? I can't find the link. Woe is me, whatever. Like, there's tens of thousands of people in the world signed up for this talk, and like I'm the only one having a problem. And I'm like texting, I'm like, I'm just not gonna listen
You
to
were,
it.
Pam.
Whatever. I'm just gonna sit on my couch and watch Family Guy. And but then I'm like,
That's good because you laugh.
I really wanted to watch it, so I like took a deep breath and I'm like, I will figure this out. And it turned out they were having technical difficulties, and like it's just that there were so many people interested in his speech, or his not speech but interview. So I watched a half hour of it, and it's recorded so I can watch the other half hour. And I was nervous that I wasn't gonna be able to catch up or watch the replay, but it was so good the first half hour, at least, that I'm like, these are the people I want, like you're saying, Jackie, to surround myself with. These are the people I want on my social media page. These are the change makers that I want to follow and support. I mean, he's like, if you watch it, I'm gonna post the link. I posted on Instagram. Actually, I think I posted it on both, but it's so good, like what they focus their energy on. So there are people out there, whether they're official politicians or not, and he's getting things changed. I mean, he's doing things. So they're out there. I can see the hope. But we should move into breath and meditation and try to have fun with it today and play. And maybe that just means changing the shape you're in, or putting music on, or maybe instead of sitting, you color or journal. So we'll set up in a comfortable seat just to start. Do a few rounds of alternate nostril, and I will set the timer. We'll do 5 rounds of breathing, and then I'll set the timer. And if you want to keep going, or you want to set your own timer. So just take 3 breaths in through the nose and out through the nose. See if you can lengthen the breath in, lengthen the breath out. Relax the face. Choose your drishti. Take your right palm up to your nose. Your right thumb will close right nostril. Your right ring finger will close left. Close right, inhale left. Close left, exhale right. Inhale right. Close right, exhale left. Inhale left. Close left, exhale right. Inhale right. Close, exhale left. Inhale left. Close, exhale right. Inhale right. Close, exhale left. 2 more rounds on your own. Then I'll set the timer, exhaling through your left nostril. Bringing hands together in front of your heart. Namaste. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Pam.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.